A Bunch of Books by Edgar Rice Burroughs. So this is episode 20 and 21 of a series I'm doing called the Masterpieces of Science Fiction. It's 140 books that Easton Press put together. And even though I've got 3 books here, it's only 2 episodes because Easton Press combined At the Earth's Core and A Princess of Mars into one book. And to keep all the numbering and everything even, I'm going with this. Now, I have read these books in the past, but I'm no expert in Edgar Rice Burroughs. But luckily, we have a fellow booktuber who is, and I'm going to link a video down in the description from Michael K. Vaughan. And he has immense knowledge on Edgar Rice Burroughs. He's read through the whole list of books, and it's really interesting. He talks about Edgar Rice Burroughs and all the different books, and it's just really good video. So if you are looking for more information from someone that knows a lot more, go watch that video. Now, like I said, I had read these books. I've read 2 of them back in like 2005, and then a few years later, I read Tarzan. And we only have so much time in the day to read, and so I audiobooked all 3 of these through my library for free, which I highly recommend. And after listening to them, I think these books would be great for someone, even in a first time listening to them on audiobook, because these aren't the deepest books. They're kind of pulpy adventure books, and they just did really well in audiobook form. So once I get to the end of the video and I'm recommending, consider that maybe give one of these books a try on audiobook if you don't want to spend the time to read it. I only listen to audiobooks of nonfiction or fiction that I've already read. And I've also done some short stories through audiobooks. Sometimes I have to listen to each short story multiple times to get it through, but that's just how I am with that. Now, one thing else to note, a while back I was going around trying to buy physical copies of all 140 books. And I didn't notice it at the time, but when I was grabbing these books to do the video, I realized that I have Tarzan At the Earth's Core, not just At the Earth's Core. And I went back through my emails and looked, and I had ordered this from Thrift Books, and I ordered At the Earth's Core, but this is what they sent me, and I didn't notice it at the time. But it is what it is, and Michael K. Vaughan says this is a really good book, so at some point I'm probably going to give this one a go. It kind of bridges 2 of Edgar Rice Burroughs' big series that he did. Now, that's another thing I'd like to talk about is I called this the Edgar Rice Burroughs Starter Pack because he's really known for 2 main series from what I can tell. The Barsoom series, which is all the Mars books, and then Tarzan, which everyone knows, I'm sure. And then he wrote a few other series, and one of them was in this Pellucidar series, which is At the Earth's Core. That's where that book falls in. And each one of these books that were on this list are book 1 of these series. So it's a really good way to kind of, get to know Edgar Rice Burroughs' writing and each series that he kind of wrote in to see if it's something that you're into. But let's just get into it. I'm going to go from kind of like my least favorite to my favorite. Just do a very, very quick wrap up. Now let's pretend this just says At the Earth's Core, and pretend it doesn't have that or that, and let's go with this. So At the Earth's Core, probably my least favorite of these 3 books. Still good. Revolves around some guy in the desert. I forget his name. He meets some other guy, and he had this drill, and they drill down in through the crust of the earth, and they find this like sub-earth where There's its own sun. There's kind of human people down there, and there's these kind of dinosaur creatures. And like most all Edgar Rice Burroughs, we have a hero. He's kind of thrown into a different element. He's trying to figure out what's going on. He meets a lady. He saves the world and lives happily ever after. That's kind of the theme with all these books. Now, my next favorite on the list is probably A Princess of Mars. And I didn't know this until I watched this Michael K. Vaughan video, but this was Edgar Rice Burroughs' very first book he published. And it was published back in like 1917. It says here that this was serialized in some magazines back in 1912, but it was put together in a book in 1917. And so we're going way back. We're going 100 years or more than 100 years back. And it's just amazing when we get into pros and cons. Yeah, these are a little dated, but they're not 100 years dated. Now, this book follows John Carter, who's the hero most people are familiar with. There's been movies made. But he's in Arizona, and he's like running from some Native Americans, and he goes into some cave, and all of a sudden he's up on the surface of Mars. And this was before we knew too much about Mars, and a lot of people, they looked up with their telescopes and they saw canals and the face on Mars and all these things, and they thought there could be people up there. So this story is kind of that if there was these races of aliens up on Mars. And John Carter gets up there and kind of gets involved with the politics and warring factions and finds the Princess of Mars and saves the day. And not to be spoilery, but everyone lives happily ever after. Now, those books they're definitely closer to science fiction. Tarzan, I don't really see many links to science fiction with this book. And Easton Press put this on the list of the masterpieces of science fiction, and I'm not going to debate that too much. It is what it is. But this is my favorite of the three. This book, I had been used to, as a child, I saw the movies. I think there was TV shows. I can't remember. We just casually see them on TV. And they were, I don't know, they were not my favorite, and I kind of kept thinking of that when, even before I read this 10 or so years ago. But don't sleep on Tarzan. This is a really good book. The writing, I think, is a little bit better. I think he wrote this. This might have been his third book, if I remember, from Michael K. Vaughan. There's no copyright date on here. But we follow the whole story of Tarzan. Most people have seen the movie or are familiar with it. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but in the novel, Tarzan is a way more likable character to me. And like Michael K. Vaughan says, he's smart in the book. The movies and stuff, I think, kind of make him seem like he's half ape and not that smart. But he's pretty smart, and he solves a bunch of issues and learns languages and does all these different kind of things. And I really liked it the most, even though it wasn't science fiction. It was the one that I thought was written the best. It had the best plot, and I just really loved it. So if you haven't read any of these books, I would say definitely give them a shot. If you're afraid of spending your time reading old 100-year-old books when you could be reading the latest thing that just came out, give these a shot on audiobook. Because like I said, the plot in these books aren't huge. There's only a few characters. And if you listen to Tarzan, you'll get to hear a lot of tut-tuts and stuff like that from the old-timey speak. So it's a lot of fun too. So that's about all for this video. I'm not going to go into too much depth in this. Go watch Michael's video if you want more information on Edgar Rice Burroughs. He's a classic author. Anytime I'm in the mood for something pulpy, I might grab one of his other books. I've got a couple other books. I've got The Synthetic Men of Mars and The Mastermind of Mars. And they're all quick, short reads, so at some point I might keep picking these off every once in a while. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.